is the biz?
Good morning. What's the biz? 559 family. Welcome to our Monday Morning Huddle. I'm your host, Darnell Rivera, life transformation coach. Again, Danica is not with us today. Once again, I have my beautiful goddaughter, Akaia Brown. She is joining us this morning. So get out of bed, stretch, and just take a listen to what we want to share with you. Our topic for today is something, again, very close to both of our hearts. It is called The Power of Intuition. I just love that. There's a lot of books out there, I even believe, with that same title, but we just kind of wanted to share some ideas and things. You know, we are, again, disclaimer, we're not professionals. We just like to share our insights, maybe books we read, podcasts we listen to, just knowledge that we've gained with you. Our show is about empowering you. So take a listen this morning, and thank you for those of you who are able to join us. But Akaia, tell me, girl, how was your weekend?
It's been good. It was good.
Good. How's the babies and all that going? They're school and jiu-jitsu and all that fun stuff?
Jiu-jitsu is fun as always. The babies are good. They're fun as well. Annoying sometimes, but fun.
A lot of energy.
Yeah, they have a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. If you didn't get to join us on our last podcast, we talked about parenting solo. That was really a great topic, and maybe we'll look at to even expanding that for a full because there's a lot of good nuggets that we've shared and just sharing the steps. But today is about intuition. And again, to disclaim, we want to emphasize that we are not experts, but we just like to share our little nuggets that we have in our lives with you all. So Akaia, share briefly with me why this topic resonates with you.
I think listening to our intuition is so important, and fortunately, sometimes we don't learn the importance of it until after we've ignored it several times. And I believe that our intuition is basically like an internal compass that kind of points us and guides us towards the way that we should be going or shouldn't be going.
Yes.
A couple of quotes that I love about intuition. One is from Oprah Winfrey, and it says, If you let it, the noise of the world will drown out the voice of God, which is your intuition. And some people,
that's good.
Some people refer to their intuition as, if you're from the, religious community, you may call it the Holy Spirit,
the divine voice.
Yeah, the divine voice that guides you from within. Another quote is from Steve Jobs, and it says, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Yes.
And I think in our lives, sometimes we can become, we might feel like a little lost and confused, or like, which direction should I take next? And I really believe that if we just settle ourselves and ground ourselves, we really know which direction we need to go. And sometimes it may feel scary.
Oh yeah.
But we have a piece of knowing this is what needs to be done.
This is what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to share a little bit further, intuition is subjective and can vary from person to person. While some people may rely heavily on intuitive decision making, others may prioritize analytical reasoning, right? Because you have those people that they're like, no, you need knowledge, intuitiveness, empathicness, none of that. They don't have nothing. And that's okay. If you're an analytical thinker, that's okay. But the power of intuition is often acknowledged in various fields, including psychology, philosophy, and spirituality, and it plays a role in aspects of everyday life. Such as decision-making, creativity, and interpersonal relationships. And like you were saying, we've heard the terms, spiritual eye, hunch, discernment, the third eye. Mm-hmm. Some people might even call it, the inner knowing or the sixth sense. But intuition generally refers to the ability to understand or knowing something without the need for conscious reasoning. Mm-hmm. It involves perceiving and comprehending information or situations instinctively, often described as a gut feeling or immediate unexplained understanding. So for today's topic, we're going to talk about the different types of intuition and how they help navigate us through our journey, because there is that leading, guiding voice that we all have within us. sometimes just one being cognitive intuition. It involves quick unconscious reasoning and problem solving. So, for example, I would use, well, I like this example in a sense. You're a chef. You've been trained how to taste food, how to prepare food. So intuitively, you can go into the kitchen, look into your cabinet, look into your pantry. My sister and my daughter are really good at that. Look into your cabinet, look into your pantry and say, okay, this is what I have. And intuitively, you can sit there and figure out a meal. And you can put those certain spices together and you could put that food together, not even knowing what you're going to make. My mom's really good at that too. You know, I think struggling folks, you know, that have a limited, grocery fund, are really good at that. So that's one example of cognitive intuition. Another one, example is, I'm not sure how I should, or not so much should how, but like when you go to purchase a car, or if you go to purchase a home, or if you go to a new job, or you maybe starting a relationship, I think a lot of us rely on that cognitive intuition that kind of helps us to kind of reason, is this the best thing for me? So that's just an example of one. Akaia, can you tell us a little bit about the other one, emotional intuition?
Yeah, so emotional intuition relates to an immediate understanding of emotions, often sensed in others or in specific situations. Some refer to it as empathy. And for me, like I said, growing up, I've always had that sense of intuition, and it was more of an emotional intuition. And I think that's from being raised in the household that I was in, having a mom who she wasn't very open with her emotions. So I had to kind of self-regulate and guide myself in witnessing intuitively, like what mood my mom was in, or how I needed to go about the house and go about my day.
Like read the room in the sense.
Yeah, reading the room. And you can pick up on it with, some people refer to it as energy or vibes, and you can pick up on it, but you do also have to kind of tap into it. It's not.
I think it has to be cultivated.
Yeah, it has to be cultivated. It's not something that's just going to come to you if you're not paying any attention to it, because it is something that comes from within. It's like a inner knowing and a gut feeling. People call it sometimes, and even sometimes you can feel it within your body. Like it will have physiological things will occur within your body from that intuition. Maybe your stomach will hurt, or you'll get a chill or something like that, So.
Well, that how that's established. And I again, I apologize. I can't remember where I read this at, but a lot of children who were raised in trauma have that empathic way of being because of just that, reading the room or sensing. I think even as an adult now, I can walk into a room and intuitively know, hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah. And
no one will say a word, but it's just that energy that you feel. And I think that's that emotional intuition, but yeah, that's really super, super powerful. So another one is spiritual intuition, which, big fan here. And I just want to read this to you listeners. It connects to a deeper sense of knowing or insight that transcends the physical and emotional realms. Connection to a higher power, seen as guidance and insights from this higher power. It helps align with purpose. Spiritual intuition can guide individuals toward a greater sense of purpose and alignment with their life's mission. It can provide a sense of direction and clarity about one's path in life. But again, like we said, it needs to be acknowledged and it needs to be cultivated. I remember transitions in my life where I would have to rely on that spiritual aspect because I needed specific guidance, whether it was leaving a job and going on to another job or ending even relationships. And I would put that out there into the universe, and I would have that conversation with my divine source. And I would say, tomorrow morning when I wake up, and I actually got this from a movie, I'm going to have the answer. And I depend on you, God, divine, universe, to bring that to me. And intuitively, I would wake up and I would just know. Or sitting in my car and seeking that guidance. And then sure enough, either a sign will come or something will show up for me, or somebody will call and will confirm that I was on the right path, or when to pull back, or when to let go of something. And so I still to this day rely heavily on spiritual intuition. And I believe you do as well.
Yeah, I do. And it, like I said, it's something that can feel very scary when you don't trust it.
Yeah.
So learning to trust it is something that's very important. And
because it can get distorted.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be just your own emotional state of being that's your intuition is kind of on the back burner. You're not allowing or listening to that, and you're just making dumb, stupid choices based on your emotions.
Yeah. Like that quote from Oprah Winfrey said, that the more we allow the world to come in and just kind of sway our view of life, that's the more we'll allow the voice of God to be drowned out within us. You know,
that is so beautiful.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
it's very true, because the more we focus externally, that's when our intuition we're not kind of moving within our intuition, you know, because it is something that we have to settle ourselves in, and the answer will come to us, you know, and so yeah.
That's good though. That's really, really good. So again, we love coming on our Monday morning huddles and sharing with you guys just nuggets of importance. And this topic is definitely, you know, you're on a path in your life. It's okay to whisper and ask for guidance on your journey. Life is hard without that insight. You know, sometimes we make bad choices and bad decisions. I mean, there were times where I intuitively known not to do something and I did it anyway. And the repercussions of that, of course, teach you the lesson. However, I always would fall back on, God, I wish I would have listened to my intuition. Yeah. Even now, you know, it's like it really guides you. I remember, you know, my kids were little and going home one night after church. And I remember pulling up to the house. My babies were asleep in the back of the car. And I looked at the door of my home and I felt something's wrong here. I just knew it intuitively. But then, of course, I tell myself, no, I'm just being silly, blah, 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 blah. Let me do what I do. You know, the plan is you open the front door, you start carrying your kids in one by one, right? I opened the front door, and I remember when I opened the front door, I felt this overwhelming, like, ugliness, like this darkness. And I'm like, no. And I shut the door, and I locked it, and I left. I remember going to my sister and brother-in-law's house and knocking on the door. I don't know what it is. I couldn't walk in the house. I kind of, okay, well, spend the night. Hearing the next day that a man was going around that neighborhood, climbing through windows and hurting women. Now, whether he was in my home waiting for me to come home, I'll never know. But I know that my intuition led me that day. Yeah. My intuition has led me to, like when I first moved down here, I remember driving around trying to find a place to live, and intuitively I was led down this street, and that's where my house is. Yeah. You know, that's where I live now. So, you know, or leaving a job, you know, feeling like something's wrong here. This place isn't for me. And then as soon as I leave, you hear about these things that occurred there, you know? So intuition is a very powerful tool. I like to call it spiritual eye, you know, because it will lead you if you cultivate it, if you acknowledge it, if you develop it and trust it. Yeah.
I think that when we're not listening to our intuition, there's kind of always a sense of uneasiness or being unsettled. And like, how do we ignore it in our day-to-day lives? I think is a good question. Something that I think about, like for me, for example, you know, I was in a relationship, and when we start relationships, there's red flags sometimes, but you know, you're in the beginning of the relationship.
There's red rockets sometimes, and we still don't listen.
You know, and it's like, oh, well, it's not a big deal, you know, I can, but inside your soul is like, you know,
something's
like,
wrong
stop,
here.
You know, and that is your intuition. And when we're not listening to it, it can lead us down paths that aren't so good, you know, and when we do listen to it, it can lead us down better paths, you know, and it can save us a lot of wasted time, a lot of heartache, and it can also lead us to more beautiful paths. Yeah. So I think it's just really recognizing how you're ignoring that. If you feel a gut feeling, don't just play it off like, oh, I'm just overthinking it. Like, really sit into it and ask, like,
that's the key. Yeah. Sitting into it.
Yeah. Really sit into it and ask, like, why am I feeling like this? What is feeling off? And address it, and you will find the answer. Yes. And sometimes we don't always want to listen to the answer, but
so like, did that mean no? Yeah. Oh man,
it's like, no, that's just
girl, that's you making that up. That's you're overthinking. You're making that up. No.
But then you won't feel that ease within your spirit, you know, when you ignore it like that. So I think that's just a really important thing to ask yourself, you know, as you're going about life, like, what if something's feeling uneasy, to really sit into it, because it is your intuition, like, nudging you, you know, and your intuition will guide you where you need to go, you know, if you allow it to.
Yeah. It reminds me of that saying, I can't remember who said it, but if it feels wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah.
If it feels something's off, then something's off.
Yeah.
Listen to it. So I wanted to also tell you, our listeners and watchers and devoted followers, thank you for joining us on this journey. There's a quote that I read, and it's by, and I hope I say this right, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And it says, intuition is the whisper of the soul. So remember that. Make sure you share and subscribe to What's the Biz 559. And again, we're all about empowering you. We wish you a blessed, wonderful week. Yes. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Akaia, thank you so much for joining us as well. I appreciate you covering for Danica. Love it. Danica, we miss you. We'll see you back soon. But thank you for listening. God bless.
Bye.